You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.
Saquon Barkley is a Philadelphia Eagle, a sentence I don't think any of us ever thought would happen. I know Tone is still in mourning out there if he's listening to this. I do love it as well. 3 years, $37.75 million contract that could be worth up to $46 million and includes $26 million guaranteed. And from what I saw, it looked like this contract is essentially a 2-year deal, which you could kind of get out of it after that second year if you really needed to. But Ty, excuse me, I know there's the running back situation in the NFL is always a hot topic. Who they're not worth it, they are worth it. You shouldn't really spend money on a running back. You can kind of get another guy to replace it. People were saying, look at what the Eagles got out of Swift and Sanders the last 2 years, but I for one, me just being a fan, have always loved having a star elite running back. And I feel like it's been a while since we've really had one of those. I never included Miles Sanders in that. I don't include DeAndre Swift in that. I think probably the last one that I can remember off the top of my head is probably Shady, right?
Shady, yeah. He's probably the last one we've had.
Shady, Westbrook. Like, those are the only two that I can think of right away. DeMarco Murray
Ryan
doesn't
Matthews.
count. Yeah, Ryan Matthews. They don't really count all that much. Sproles, those guys, they're good. They're nice. Jay Ajayi was at one point a good running back, but by the time we got him, he had no cartilage or anything left in his kneecaps. So that was an issue. That was a good kind of three-headed monster we had that year. But
yeah,
this year we're gonna have a Saquon Barkley. All the Penn Staters are gonna be losing their minds. Absolutely blowing loads in their pants. Yeah, that's not going to be great. But with that all aside, I think adding Saquon Barkley to an already powerful offense and having your top 10 quarterback in Jalen Hurts, you have two of the best. You can argue top 20, top 15, whatever. Two really good receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, right? Oh my God, I was calling him DeAndre Swift. I was like, oh no, that's not good. And then Dallas Goedert, so like with an offensive line who, although lost Kelsey, I think is still going to be, up in the upper echelon of the NFL. Ty, so I love the move. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I love it too. And people complain about the money, but there's so many ways to work around contracts in the NFL. Nobody even knows. I have no idea. But there's so many outs and bonuses and guarantees and shifting money from this year to next year and just moving it around. Howie's obviously a whiz at that. So that shouldn't be an issue. Also, it's not our money. So whatever, we still have flexibility. We went out, we brought back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So that was cool. I didn't know what we were going to do at safety once we missed on McKinney. I wish we would have paid McKinney.
Yeah, it sounded like we were getting close to that.
I figured they weren't going to, match Green Bay's offer, which is, whatever. I love Xavier McKinney, and taking him from the Giants would have been a fatal death blow. Saquon was bad, but Saquon, in my opinion, isn't even really close to what Xavier McKinney is as a player. He's also 3 years younger than Saquon. So either way, we get a safety. Our safety room looks much better. I really hope we go out and get Kendall Fuller to shore up our slot corner spot, and then from there, maybe another linebacker, but I think Zach Bond's probably the rotational guy that, they swapped out Morrow for Zach Bond. So I'm fine with that. Matt Hennessy, he once upon a time was a pretty decent offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I believe he's from Temple, right? So, and Philly. I don't know if he's born in Philly, but he missed all of last year with an injury. But circling back to Saquon, yeah, I think he just gives us something that DeAndre Swift didn't really. I mean, he's good in the passing game. He's good in the run game. He's a good blocker. Dude, he's like 230, and he has, probably more elusiveness than Swift and Gainwell and all these guys that are, much smaller. He's got good jukes. The only problem sometimes with Saquon, he's very boom or bust. He'll get like a 2 yard, 3 yard, 2 yard, 3 yard, 4 loss of 5, and then he'll rip off 60, kind of like Leonard Fournette. So that's my only issue with him. Well, not my only issue, health. He seems to sprain his ankle quite a lot. So we'll see how those ankles hold up.
Relatively healthy the last few years, though.
Last few years, yeah. So, and that, running back and football players in general, if you're going to nitpick, if you're going to say any of these guys are injury prone, pretty much everybody that steps on that field is injury prone. So, let that play itself out. He's got a lot of good back jukes, a lot of good just suddenness and explosiveness.
Yep.
Changes direction really well. I think he's going to give us a little bit of what we kind of expected from Swift. I think a lot of us expected a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like he had his good games, but then he kind of just disappeared, especially at the end of the year. So, and I don't think there's going to be nearly as much pressure on Saquon to perform here. We didn't draft him in the top 5. We didn't surround him with a trash quarterback and a trash line, and trash coaches, trash turf in a trash stadium in a trash city. So I think he's going to have a much better life as a Philadelphia Eagle. He's happy to be home. Tiki Barber's running his mouth. He can go fuck himself.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he cheated on his wife with a 17-year-old, right? Something like that.
Oh, jeez, I didn't know about that.
Something like that. He cheated on his pregnant wife with a younger woman. Either way, he's had some time. Also, it's funny that he had his best years as a Giant at the very end of his career, retired, and then they won when he left. So obviously he doesn't mean shit, and him and this stupid little talk show or podcast or radio station show, whatever it is, very irrelevant and hilarious. You know, telling somebody they're dead to you.
Blow himself as well. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's on that show.
Yeah, he's the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy who's always just shitting on the Eagles anytime he gets the opportunity.
Yeah. It's just so funny that Giants fan. I saw a Giants fan in my sister's comments on Facebook saying, you know what, this is similar to Hamas joining IDF.
Yeah, you're like, what?
I was like, bro, hold on.
Fucking relaxed.
This is sports. This is not a geopolitical comparison that we can make. Also, that's not even no. I could see if you were saying Cowboys to the Eagles. What are the Giants? We don't care about the fucking New York Giants. They're nobodies. They haven't been good in forever. You know, they're not even our biggest rival. If you think we're your biggest rival, sorry. You know.
Yeah, but, not only have the Giants not like, I mean, they've won a Super Bowl. When's
the last time we beat them? Yeah, they beat us.
Oh man, I mean, they almost beat us
was it this year?
In a meaningful game, it has to be 3. I don't know. It feels like a while though. You would remember it. I mean, the Cowboys have pretty much had our number. Other than that, the rest.
That's
of them,
our rivals.
Yeah.
So Giants fans are, they're trying to cope as much as they can. And it's funny because a lot of them shit on Saquon, but they're so mad he left to go to Philly. It's like, which side are you really playing? And then it's like, oh, it's not about the money. It's about you going to the Eagles. Yeah, motherfucker, he went to the Eagles because they gave him the most money. That's how that works.
Kind of how this thing goes.
Yeah, you guys didn't want to pay him for years, so he went somewhere that will. And it just so happens to be us. But we also, the first signing of free agency was DeAndre Swift to the Bears. So we immediately needed to fill that gap. And I guess there's an investigation into the Eagles for tampering, which is kind of crazy because they have a legal tampering window, and we still are somehow possibly made connections or whatever you want to call it.
Well, it sounded like Howie or James Franklin is the one that snitched on the Eagles in a press conference.
Of course.
I don't know if you saw
that.
What
a loser.
Him talking about how Howie brought up or was talking to him and said that he, playing in Philly, he'll have that Penn State connection and all that nonsense. But it's just shut up, bro. Just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, why are you talking? Win some games.
Why don't you go down to the SEC and get cooked again? So
Falcons are also getting investigated for tampering with Kirk Cousins. So I don't know. Maybe we lose a pick. I hope not because we don't. We could use these picks, but whatever. I'm not worried about that anyway. It's teams have gotten in trouble for it before, but
it is.
Hopefully, we're going to lose a top 3 or 4th round pick or anything. But either way, I'm here for it. I like the signings that we've made in general. Definitely shouldn't be done. I think it was Mike Lombardi or somebody said that the Eagles are going to take another big swing here. I don't know who that could be. There's not really any big names. Yeah, I mean, there's people said, there's so many more guys out there. I'm like, there really isn't. There's Justin Simmons, but he's 30. Derek Gunn says we're priced out for him, which is funny because I didn't think we would want him, considering we have two safeties now. But Chauncey Gardner got 330 here.
Before that, I did want to talk about Bryce Huff.
Bryce Huff, yes, the only guy I didn't mention.
Former New York Jet, massive 3-year deal, 3 years, $51.1 million. He's coming off a career year in which he registered 10 sacks and added 10 tackles for loss and 21 quarterback hits. So he'll look to make an instant impact under new D coordinator Vic Fangio, but that kind of probably means Ty Hassan Reddick or Josh Sweat, who we have both nominated as goodbye. No problem. I'll drive you to the airport sort of person.
Yeah.
One of them will probably be gone for financial reasons. And I've also saw that the Eagles might just cut Josh Sweat, which that would be absolutely insane. I wouldn't do that, but
I feel like we have to get something for him. I mean, he had more pressure. He had like 70 pressures last year. I feel like he's been pretty consistent, but yeah, I mean, I would take a third or fourth round pick for him. I don't know what his value is. I guess maybe his knee, from high school is a concern, but he's still young and he's on a very dirt cheap deal. But
Yeah, he's got one more year left in that deal, so it's like, I would, look at what they just traded for Brian Burns. But although Brian Burns, I thought he was going to be way more expensive than a second.
Well, they
and a
turned
fifth,
down.
right?
They
you
turned
saw
down
that?
2 first rounders from the Rams like a year ago, and now that's the Panthers are just kind of hustling backwards, but making some decent moves. But yeah, that was.
Do you like this Bryce-Off
rough.
move though? I mean, I do. I think this is kind of in the Hassan Reddick neighborhood of pass rushers. Kind of like on the smaller, quick side, but can really cause some havoc off the edge. And with having Jalen Carter in the middle, I think they're kind of setting up to. I think the D line needed a little bit of it needs new blood in there anyway, because after last year they really were getting stonewalled. Especially towards the second half of last year, they really were not getting any pressure. Like we were talking about it each week on every pod. It's like, dude, this defense is built through the defensive line to get pressure, so that that secondary doesn't have to cover for 5, 10, a ridiculous amount of time. And it seemed like they were back there in coverage for much longer than they should have been. And I, can only blame that on the D court or the D line. So maybe this will kind of help them. And I know. Bryce-Off hasn't really played the snap, a ton of snaps, but I imagine he's going to. I think he had 42% of the snaps last season for the Jets. He's definitely going to have to play a lot more here, so maybe that'll be good for him. Maybe it'll be bad for him, but I think it's a good contract on a guy. He's only 25 years old to kind of bet on him making that leap.
Yeah, I mean, they had a couple of good players: Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, the rookie, Michael Clemens. So the Jets had. Some other good linebackers, Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley, Chaz Surratt, they all played well. So, there wasn't that much playing time for Bryce-Off. Also, I think he might just be not a situational pass rusher, but kind of like a situational pass rusher.
Yeah.
Now, what's funny is he probably played 400 to 500 less snaps than Sweat and Reddick, yet he had 1 less pressure than Reddick and 3 less pressures than Sweat. He had more sacks than Sweat, a couple less than Reddick. He had 1 less hurry than Sweat and more than Reddick. So he's pretty much lines up his numbers across the board, line up with them. He also only had 1 missed tackle for whatever that's worth. And so it looks like his grades in general, Pro Football Focus gave him an 86.8 pass rush grade. 2 years ago, they gave him an 88 pass rush grade. So it seems like that's been pretty much, he's not the best run defender, it looks like, but I don't think that's necessarily what he's going to be asked to do or what he's going to be expected to excel in. He's pretty much a pass rush specialist, but I wouldn't mind having him, Reddick, and Sweat on the same team. You know what I mean? But if you can get something for either one of those two, yeah, sure, why not? Pull the trigger. You still have Nolan Smith trying to get him some more reps, Brandon Graham. Maybe they draft or sign an edge rusher or a D lineman. I would like to see DJ Reader. Maybe they make a stab at him just to replace Fletch, but we'll see what they do. I'm sure they have more moves, and they love drafting D lineman and O line in the draft. So I love it. I love the move personally. I believe he went to Memphis, and he was an undrafted free agent. And I see a lot of Jets fans were worrying about possibly losing him, and they did. So that's good. They're losing a quality player, and we're getting a quality player. He's still, like I said, he's 25, not even 26 yet. So I like it, man. We're getting young on the defensive side. Or staying young with bringing back Chauncey Gardner, who's like, hey, the city of Philadelphia, by the way, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
Even though he probably did, but it's okay. Philadelphia's we're very forgiving.
That's all we need is a nice little pot. Hey, I hated the guy even when they signed him, I was like, nah, I don't fuck with him.
I hated him when he was at Florida so much. I can't tell you how much I hated Chauncey Gardner when he was at UF. I wanted to kill him anytime he was on the field. And he used to get cooked by LSU. So, with that being said, also he was a cornerback. Now he's a safety. Anyway, I love it. I mean, Byer didn't do shit. He went to the Bears. Bears taking all of our scraps.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't necessarily co-sign running it back with Slay and Bradbury, but you kind of have to. There's not really a choice, at least until after this upcoming season. But you got to hope they draft somebody, or like I said, I really, really love Kendall Fuller. I wish we could have signed Darius Williams, but I don't think he's played the slot really ever. So it makes sense for him to go to the Rams, I believe. good. The Rams are having a good offseason. The Commanders are having a really good offseason. They're making so many signings. And then the Dallas Cowboys are they're signing their long snapper. That's what they're doing. So it's good to see that the Giants or the Cowboys are doing nothing while everybody else does something. And this was supposed to be the year that they're all in. We're all in. That's what Jerry said.
Hell yeah.
Which means we're just going to re-sign CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, who I think Dak is on like a $59-$60 million cap hit this year. So
who's being investigated by the police? I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Dove Kleiman letting us know that he's under investigation. They don't know for what, but he is under investigation. Of
money laundering.
So we talked about C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I love that move as well. I think that is a huge – we needed some help on the back end. You know, you're not going to have Sidney Brown for the beginning of the year. Reed Blankenship's just kind of out there risking his life every time he makes a tackle. So and that's kind of an issue. You know, you can't really count.
Didn't Chauncey get hurt last year? He tore his pec?
Yeah, for the Lions he did. Yeah, he tore his pec. He's coming off
and then he came back at the end.
Yeah, he did come back at the end.
So that should be fine.
I think this is a guy who turns the ball over. You know, he makes plays, and I loved having him here. I didn't want him to go, and you know, it looks like he didn't wind up. He wound up getting paid more than he was going to last year. So it kind of it worked out.
Weird.
I don't know how the Lions just kind of let him walk. I don't know. I don't know how that happened.
They've had a weird. They've settled for a very mediocre DB room in general. Their cornerback one is Carlton Davis, and then they have Emmanuel Mosley, and it's just a bunch of slop over there. But I'm glad. I'm sure they didn't want to pay him because they have to pay other guys. Amon St. Brown, especially. But I'm all board. Zach Bond, I'm fine with it. You know, he's just a rotational
nice
linebacker.
Rotation guy.
I know they're big fans of Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M. Supposed to be an LSU Tiger, but he never went. It's okay. Still love him. And he had a tremendous year last year for A&M. So I don't know where he's going to go. Somewhere in that, maybe if they trade it back into the 30s or 40s or trade it up or somewhere in that 40, 50 range, I think he's going to go. So I would love to see him or Trotter with that second pick. I think we have 50 and 53. One of them right there. And then honestly, this might be a hot take, but this is what we do on this show, right? Somewhere in 50 or 53, I would love to take a receiver. A nice little like Ricky Pearsall, the kid from Florida. Absolutely love him. Or just some kind of burner, you know. I think we might go corner in the first round, even though we never do. So maybe they go edge rusher. Like if Jared Verse were to fall, which I don't think he will, but if edge rusher were to fall, I would love. Honestly, I'd be on board with it. Even like Latu. I know he's a firefighter, so I don't know if we should do that, but that could be another direction they go with that. I really want to know what they're going to do with 22. I always want to know what they're going to do in the first round because they have these positions that they just refuse to draft early. Yeah, and I'm like, is this going to always be a thing? Because I really hate ignoring linebacker and corner in the draft, but they always seem to make it work. So you know, who knows?
Yeah, I'm just a guy. You know, there's only so much. So I guess with that, you know, with some of the free agent signings that have gone down. Obviously, they might not be done, but you know, we mentioned Zach Bond, Matt Hennessy, kind of just fill in sort of depth guys. They're bringing back Brandon Graham, so I mean that's also just a nice. I think you could, you know, you need him as the kind of the culture setter for one more season before Fletcher Cox retired. We didn't even talk about that, but that I think it was time. You know, I think he had actually a pretty good year last year, so that it was kind of a good way to go out.
Ironic, but he's only 33, so it's I don't know, kind of crazy just seeing him come in and that was it. You know, when he got drafted out of Mississippi State, I was like, I don't know what we got with this guy, and he turned out to be, you know, at his peak. Him, Grady Jarrett, Aaron Donald were like the three best D tackles in the league, and he wasn't on Aaron Donald's level, but I don't really think anybody in history has been. So,
he's a damn good player, man.
Him, Chris Jones, Grady Jarrett, three of the better. No defensive linemen, defensive tackles. I think Fletcher at his peak was probably number 2 behind whatever his name is. I already forget. Aaron Donald.
Yeah, no, I know.
I already forgot.
I know you're trying to say.
So yeah, I mean, shout out to him. I was very critical on him the last couple of years, but I mean, he's in his 30s. That's what's going to happen to guys. So and like you said, played great last year, honestly, for all intents and purposes. So shout out to him for having hopefully we can get Kelsey to come out of retirement. I don't think it's going to happen, but getting Saquon, maybe that helps. I don't know.
He's already like not talking about it, but like, oh man, I really, he,
Hey, there's still a lot of time.
people were already putting up the videos of the what's it called, the Green Goblin looking at the mask and the mask talking to him like, "You coward," and he's like, "Leave me alone, leave me alone." But
speaking of the Green Goblin, the New York Giants signed Jalen Mills. I forgot that happened,
Yeah.
so I can't wait to torch his ass twice a year. I wonder if he's going to change that green hair to blue.
Well,
I don't know.
who's
We'll
not
see.
going to be torching his ass? Well, hopefully he does, but I doubt it. Devontae Parker is a Philadelphia Eagle as well, so
Forgot
there's
about that.
that's a number 3 or 4 kind of slot guy, but Philadelphia will pay
Might not make the
1.2
team.
of his $4.9 million salary. So I don't know how that works. But low risk move for a player with some upside. Although your boys from PFF have said he has some of the lowest separation numbers like in the history of the NFL. So
Yes, but fun fact: his PFF grades over the course of his career have been pretty good. Last year was not, but he's been in the green pretty much ever since he got into the league. Doesn't drop that many passes, doesn't fumble. I don't think he's a guy that's going to separate much, but he's kind of a big-bodied receiver. He's kind of a big slot, is kind of what he reminds me of. His contested catch rate very solid, 95 and 184 in his career. It's good for 52%. Only 2 fumbles in his career. He doesn't really make guys miss tackle wise. But again, he's not that 4.4 guy he was coming out of college in 2015, which is insane. I can't believe Devontae Parker is 31 years old. I feel like I remember him at Louisville. I was like, oh, this dude's the next Megatron. So, not the best move, but also he's our wide receiver 3. And I think he's probably better than Olamide Zaccheaus. I think he's probably better than the ghost of Julio Jones.
Yeah.
I
think it's
and
fair.
also, he's not locked to make the roster. You know what I mean? So if we do draft somebody, who knows? But yeah. I don't hate it. It's a very low risk move.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I agree. I've made some moves while literally the second we got done recording last week. Devin White becomes a Philadelphia Eagle when we just got done talking about how, we don't know if we want him. He's got some flaws in his game and things of that nature. But I think he's only 26 years old. 1 year, I believe it was like $7.5 million, and there's some incentives, of course, involved in that. But what I was saying, and I still believe this to be true, Ty. I think at the end of the day, it's just about. We needed some help in that linebacker room. I don't know if this guy's going to change the world or become, the reincarnation of Jeremiah Trotter. I don't think that's going to be the case. But he had some speed. He had some athleticism. It's a warm body that's not Nick Morrow or, Zach Cunningham. Or there was some bad. What was Shaq Leonard? Who I've never.
Oh man!
Talk about a guy who was completely cooked. That I don't think Devin Leonard. Jesus! Oh my God! Could you imagine that hybrid?
That would be
That's
pitiful to watch.
horrible. But
I'd rather watch Zach Bond.
Yeah, I don't think. Shout out to Zach Bond. I don't think he's generationally cooked like Shaq Leonard was. But I think. I think it's a positive. Would you agree? I know you're anti. You're not a Devin White guy.
It's crazy because I love Devin White. He's from LSU.
Yeah.
I remember him way back in high school. There was a bunch of talk of Alabama stealing him from I think he went to North Webster in Louisiana. He was he was a running back and linebacker, and he was just scary. Saban wanted him to play running back at Bama, and he ended up staying home. So he's just a country boy, rides his horse. He seems like a cool dude. Like you said, he's only 26. I believe he just turned 26. Great athlete. When he gets downhill, man, he's scary. He hits hard. He's a good blitzer. They used him. It seems like he's not really a good blitzer, but they just Tampa just set him. They let him loose and said, "All right, go make a play." And almost 4 out of every 5 plays that he would make were him just taking a play off. And the 5th play was a big splash play, so you'd see it on SportsCenter or you'd see it in the game. Johnny Page did a nice breakdown. There's some things he likes in Devin White. Funny enough, his coverage ability, which has been kind of a liability. Most of his game has been a liability in his 5 years, but coverage-wise, he's given up a lot of catches. But I'm not sure how much of that is him letting everything in front of him, playing linebacker, and just kind of letting a guy catch a ball for 5-6 yards and then tackling him short of the first down or whatever. Who knows why he's given up 83% receiving rate? Who knows? But I think his athleticism, his speed, you can play him somewhere, man. There's a way you can make it work for sure. It's not like he's completely lost all of his abilities. Now he does, for some reason, hit the wrong hole a lot in the run game. Over pursues, kind of gets lost. He can kind of get stuck on blocks. It seems like
Yeah.
not really good at disengaging. So it seems like a work in progress. Not a lot of money really. High risk, high reward. But yeah, he's not going to be the anchor of this defense. So you put him next to Kobe Dean, have Zach Bond and whoever else interchange run out. I'm sure they'll draft a linebacker in the mid to late rounds also. And I'm sure they're also not done signing maybe another linebacker, maybe somebody that can play in space a little bit. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they deploy Devin White. He's a heat-seeking missile. Maybe if they just try to work on him as like a spy or a late blitzer,
Yeah.
I think he could excel in that role 100%. And
I think he's just a
hopefully-
weapon, Ty, right? I mean, like,
there's definitely possibilities there. It just seems like he's left so much to be desired in his 5 years. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how he's going to play, but his tackling's gotten better. So he's not missing 20 tackles a year anymore. So that's good. We'll see. I mean, watching the film, there's really not a lot of great. There's a lot of bad moments, I should say, on film. But hopefully, we can hone him in a little bit and get him on track and playing around. Hopefully, a solid middle linebacker in Kobe Dean, if he stays injury free, will help him also. So I'm excited. I mean, it's not that often LSU boys come to Philly, so I'm here.
You gotta enjoy it while it's here. Another move they made while we were off the past week was Kenny Pickett is the new backup quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles agreed to acquire Kenny Pickett and a 2024 fourth-round pick, which is the 120th overall pick, from the Steelers in exchange for a 2024 third-round pick, which is the 98th overall, and a pair of 2025 seventh-round picks. So essentially just kind of a move down in the draft to pick up Kenny Pickett. I saw some people say with Justin Fields, why wouldn't they just go get Justin Fields since he went for a sixth and could turn into a fourth sort of thing? And I mean, I understand that thought process, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I like the move, this kind of move. It seems like the lesser of two evils in the sense that, if you did get Justin Fields, it would have been a sort of, the second Hurts didn't play well or, things started to go awry or go left, there would have been the, put Fields in conversations happening. And apparently what happens on sports radio really gets in the heads of a lot of these athletes, and the team just can't handle any sort of adversity. So at least they have a serviceable backup in Kenny Pickett, which I think he's serviceable. I don't think he was horrible in his time with Pittsburgh, and I don't think, even if he was, you can blame him all that well with the abomination that was the Steelers' offense for the last 3-4 years. So, I think it's a good move.
Me too. I mean, for what it's worth, I know this might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but his Pro Football Focus grades haven't been bad. Like, really. I mean, his first year 75.5, last year 70.6. I think a lot of that you attribute to how many drops he had. I mean, 19 as a rookie and then 13 last year. 7% drop percentage. Not great. And also had probably the worst offensive coordinator, offensive coaching staff in the league, if not,
and a bad line, too. They had a bad line. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the receivers, I mean, Pickens is decent, but my boy Deontay Johnson, they're decent, but nobody really that good.
Yeah.
I guess I would say Pickens is good, but he's kind of inconsistent. Frymuth, average. And they had Chase Claypool out there for a little bit. They had Allen Robinson, the corpse of Allen Robinson out there playing wide receiver 3. The speedster Calvin Austin, he's okay. And then running back wise, Jalen Warren and Najee Harris seem like a pretty good 1-2 punch. But again, the offense, the O-line, those guys are kind of just everybody on that offense was just okay, and then couple that with an awful, awful offensive coordinator and even a defense that would get banged up a lot. That team just had no continuity, no progress. They couldn't stay on track at all. And you can blame Kenny Pickett for sure. I mean, he's not great, but part of being a decent quarterback or part of evaluating quarterback is seeing what he has around him. And his situation was dog water, man. So he's going to be in a much better spot here. He's not going to be really asked to play much, if at all. And I think whenever he comes in, I think he's going to have, he's going to have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert.
Yep.
We'll see who else we have. We'll see who our wide receiver 3 is. I'm sure it'll be an upgrade from last year. I mean, right now it's Devontae Parker. So that's already an upgrade from Quez Watkins. I would love to add another tight end in the draft. Get one of those late guys like a Tucker Kraft, somebody that's athletic, hasn't played that much, but from a smaller school. I would love that.
Yeah.
Maybe another running back. So he's going to be in a much better situation. Going to be asked to do much less, and there's not going to be much pressure on him. Battling for the quarterback spot, the starting spot when maybe he wasn't ready. So yeah, I love the signing or the trade, I should say. We moved back 20 spots basically, right? We traded this pick,
essentially, yeah,
a pick this year. So nothing wrong with that. Yeah, maybe Justin Fields made more sense because Jalen Hurts is kind of that dual threat guy, but I don't think that's necessarily how it works. Also, nobody wants Justin Fields, it seems. So
there's something going on there. I don't know if they just think he stinks. I don't know. I didn't get the vibe that he's horrible. I mean,
yeah.
I'm also not paid to evaluate talent and quarterbacks, so who knows? It seems like nobody really wanted to pay. I mean, if I was Atlanta before, I think I'd rather have Justin Fields than Kirk Cousins. Not just with all the surrounding factors, with Cousins coming off of an Achilles, being paid that much money, and if all you had to do is give up a fifth or a sixth for Justin Fields, yeah, I'll take my chances with that and maybe try to get something down the line. I don't know. That's just my thought process, but yeah, I think that so far so good. It seems like the free agency has started to slow down a little bit, and that might be the end of the real whirlwind of moves for all these different teams. I see the Eagles signed like a D tackle and a linebacker, kind of just like depth guys.
PJ Mustapher and Oren Burks. Oren Burks from the Niners, not bad rotational linebacker. I forgot we signed him. I was talking about linebackers earlier. You just reminded me. Decent, nothing crazy. Didn't spend a lot of money. In spurts, he played pretty well for a Niners defense that was good, so they didn't ask him to do much. Same thing he's going to be doing here. He's going to be a rotational depth guy. Maybe he doesn't make the team. Maybe he's a special teams guy, but I'm sure, again, looking at some of his grades and looking at some of what the Niners fans said about him, he was decent. He was average. I guess he was like our Nick Morrow. But played much less and was asked to do much less. So
it feels like now the conversation is going to be surrounding whether the Eagles are going to bring back Son Reddick, somebody like that. It sounds like at this point in time, it is just a question of if and when somebody will step up and give them the right offer. They are not going to move him until then. And if they don't get it, they will hold on to him. That's from Adam Schefter, apparently. So I don't know. It seems like Reddick's on the way out. That's the vibe I've gotten from all the different things. Bringing back Josh Sweat, which we and you are not huge fans of. I mean, for the money and everything, but I think if it meant Reddick or Sweat, I think we're picking Reddick 10 times out of 10, and another one if you gave us the opportunity. It's just, I think I don't know. I don't want to say Sweat's cooked, but I just didn't like what I saw from him the second half of the season, especially, and just me having to put him on a milk carton and look for him at a certain point because he just was missing for 8 weeks of the season, especially when we needed him the most. And I mean, with all due respect, Reddick was disappearing as well in some of these games, so I don't want to act like he's the savior or something like that.
You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.